Hey, welcome to week 5. We are going to be starting something a little new today, or this week. We've already finished Of Mice and Men, which is great. I heard back from quite a few of you that you really liked the novel, so I'm happy about that. I was really hoping that y'all would. I'm hoping that you've gotten your essay turned in by this point, but of course, if you haven't gotten anything from the past turned in, please make sure that you're doing that as soon as possible. So let's go right into what we're doing this week. So we're going to be talking about perspectives. You're going to be reading a short story called What the Sky Sees. There's a partner text to this story that you'll be reading next week, or possibly the week after, because I think there's an activity that I want y'all to do in between. But this week is about perspectives. So you're going to start, of course, doing your lesson. You're going to go in and watch the video, because I'm going to be including a lot of important information in this video commentary about the short story. Download the text and read the whole story, and then download and complete the assignment page. So let's go back, You have What the Sky Sees, that's the story, and that opens directly in Google Docs, and then you have the perspective assignment. So let's look at this perspective assignment. The question about perspective. We haven't really talked about perspective this week, but we have in ways that are not exactly the word perspective. It's point of view. And in this case, when it comes to point of view and perspective, it's really about how it affects us as the reader. And this is really going to play an important role when you read the second or the partner text to this story. So please pay attention to the perspective of the story as you're reading it, and the questions for this week help you do that. So what is perspective? It's the view we get of the situation based on what the narrator wants us to see. Sometimes, and the majority of the time, our point of view being in first person means that we're only getting that person's view. So for example, if somebody were to tell you, or if a boy were to tell you about a breakup, he may leave out all of the emotional pieces because he doesn't want to talk about those pieces. Or maybe he wants to talk about those pieces, and it's different than the way the girl wants to talk about it. Maybe she's angry and she doesn't want to talk about anything, or maybe she wants to tell you every little detail. Depending on the person is how the perspective changes. We're only getting their side of the story. We never get the whole picture. So why does it matter? What matters is that we don't have all of the information. When it's only one person's perspective, we're only seeing what they think, what they know, and how they feel. And that's a big deal, because the way I feel about something may be completely different to the way that you feel about something. And if you're telling the same story that I'm telling, you're going to tell it very differently than the way I would. So we never have 100% of the picture. And then that also affects the way we connect to our narrator. Sometimes they may be telling the story exactly the way we would tell the story, and we're suddenly just like great with them. We want to be on their side no matter what, right? You've had that experience when you're watching a movie or watching a show, and you get really attached to that one character who has the same kind of thoughts and beliefs that we do, or maybe something about them just really appeals to us. But there are also those characters that we don't find a connection to. We have no attachment to them whatsoever because they don't share our beliefs, they don't share our thoughts, and it's just like, they're there. Okay, cool. I mean, they're giving their side of the story, but I don't really agree with it. And so the perspective is what affects us in that feeling towards the character. So then that of course goes into my third question, how does perspective affect the reader? Depending on the perspective, you can either hate the main character or you can love them. And I'm giving you an example here that if someone who has never been through a bad breakup offers you advice, how likely are you to accept it? Probably not very likely if you're smart, because they don't know what it's like. They haven't been through it. How are they supposed to tell me how to feel about it when they've never been there? But then the person who you know who's definitely been through that situation, you're more likely to listen to them. Maybe you won't take all of their advice. We're not very good at taking advice, but at least you know they've been there, they've been through it, they understand it, they connect to our feelings, right? So it's all about their perspective. Also consider, a lot of times we seek out people who have the same perspective that we do. If we like something, we want to find other people who like that same thing. If we don't like something, we want to hang out with other people who don't like that same thing. Because who wants to hang out with somebody who's always going to contradict us, right? So that's all about perspective. It's bias. We are biased. And we've talked about that before, having a biased perspective of things, okay? So this week with what the sky sees, I'm not going to tell you too much about it, but I will tell you that it involves somebody dying. And it is told from a first-person point of view, the perspective of this one narrator. But of course, it's your job to decide who this narrator is. And then, again, the partner text is a little different, but it is also about somebody dying. So let's look at the questions that you're doing this week. Who is the narrator in What the Sky Sees, and what is their gender? So that's important. Think about that as you're reading, because that'll help you then answer this question. What helped you to decide your answer to question 1? Then be careful. Don't just say because the story said he had a girlfriend. Obviously, that tells us something that the writer wanted us to know is a he, but think harder about that. What did the characters say? What did the narrators say or do that made us understand who they were, or are, technically, because all stories are alive? Did you feel any sort of connection to the narrator? This is going back up here to how does it affect us, right? Maybe you liked them or disliked them. Maybe, or perhaps you felt like you understood where they were coming from, or maybe you didn't connect with them at all. Saying I didn't have one, as in I didn't have a connection to the narrator, doesn't count as a response. You have to have found some sort of connection, even if it is, I really didn't like them because they did this, this, and this. You cannot just say, I didn't like them, or I didn't have one. Number 4, what did they say or do that made you feel the way that you felt when answering question number 3? What did they say that made you hate them? Or what did they say that made you like them, or feel happy for them, or sad for them, etc.? And then number 5, do you think the narrator tells the whole story? As in, did they give you everything? Is there something you believe is missing? Or maybe something that should have been added to make the story complete, feel whole? What could they have done better, so to speak, from their perspective to make the story better? Or do you think that they did a good job? And if they did do a good job, why? What did they do to make sure that you felt like they did a good job telling the whole story? So once you're done answering all these questions, you'll come in and turn it in under perspective submission. Please make sure that you're turning in the correct document. Change this up here from perspective, just put a dash and your name. Okay, so type your name. Obviously, don't type your name. Put your actual name, okay? So that is it for this week. You will be reading either the partner text next week, or you'll be reading, or you'll be doing an activity that helps with perspectives, and then we'll move on to the partner text, maybe just to kind of give us a break between the 2 short story readings. If you need any support, please reach out to me, send me a text message, remind, an email. I've had a few of you contact me for support, and I'm happy to help you guys as often as I can. I'm obviously available all 5 days of the normal work week to talk to you guys. And of course, over the weekend, if you need something, you can always feel free to send me a message. I'll reply. I just prefer to kind of keep it to the work week itself. But if you need anything, reach out. I'm kind of sad that I don't get to see you guys before the end of the year is over. We, of course, are out until the end of the year. But, I mean, I'll definitely see all of y'all next year. So that'll be fine. So I will see you guys via video soon, for sure. Definitely next week. And I will talk to y'all as soon as I can. I hope all of y'all are staying healthy and well. I'll see you later.